Using the TI-Nspire CAS handheld. Video 1. Things to know before you start. Part 2. Changing the settings. So now that we're working in Scratchpad mode, we might want to adjust a few of the settings in how we're working here. The primary one you want to adjust quite frequently will be the angle mode, whether you're working in degrees or radians, particularly when you're dealing with a trigonometry chapter or a circular functions topic, something to do with that. So the first things first, if you take your touchpad and scroll the arrow or the cursor up over the battery, you'll see, first of all, you get this flash that indicates what angle mode you're in. So I'm currently in radian mode. That's a really important thing to check regularly when you're working with trigonometry, circular functions, that you're in the right mode, particularly if you're getting answers that you're not expecting. So to change any settings in the Scratchpad, I actually hover up to the battery and click, and this menu comes up. And I want to choose option 2, document settings. So when working with your CAS, actually with the handheld, the touchpad itself can be quite cumbersome. Its sensitivity is not great. It can be quite difficult to use and use accurately. It's a really good habit to get into using the menu system by using the numbers. So in this case, I'm going to type the number 2 rather than do any scrolling or swiping with my mouse. We'll also talk, when you press menu, the same kind of idea, and you'll start to learn some of those key press patterns that you use a lot, and it makes it really efficient. For example, menu 3.1 is solve. I just type that now without even thinking about it. So get used to actually using those numbers as a way to navigate those menus. Now we're in a dialog box such as this, so navigating a dialog box such as this, using the up and down arrows to move between boxes, or using tab to move between the boxes, using the right arrow to open a box, escape if you want to get out of it, all those sorts of things. So the first option here that I'm going to look at is display digits. So this is talking about the level of accuracy to which your answers, or your decimal answers in particular, are shown. So float 6 means that 6 digits will be shown regardless of where the decimal place lies. I wouldn't alter this setting. I'll talk later about how you can see more digits if you need to. I would leave it at whatever the default is for your handheld. The next setting I want to look at is the angle setting. So this is where you're going to change from radian to degree mode if you wish. And the last one I want to look at is calculation mode. So calculation mode is about the way that your answers are presented. So whether you're given exact answers, so fractions, answers in terms of surds or in terms of pi, in terms of e, or those sorts of exact answers, or whether you're given decimal answers. Now, the default mode here is auto, and you should leave this at auto. If you wish to get an approximate answer, it's very, very easy to override that as you're using your calculator rather than changing the setting. Auto mode will give you exact answers where it can, or where you're working exactly, so you're using fractions and surds and pi. If you're using decimals, it will give you decimal answers or approximate answers. So I would leave that setting at auto and strongly encourage you to do so. I'm just going to press cancel here because I haven't actually changed anything. The other thing I want to note while we're talking about settings, back at the home screen, you have the option to change settings over here. Now you'll notice that this is on the right hand side of the home screen and under the documents heading. Changing the settings here changes the settings in your documents. Please be careful about that. If you adjust your angle mode here, you won't necessarily, although with some of these newer software updates, there is the option now to press make default, which does then apply it across everything. But I strongly encourage you to be really careful about where you're making your settings changes, whether you're making them in the Scratchpad or whether you're making them here to apply to documents. So here you get the same menu options. The menu looks exactly the same. You would need to press make default to apply it to the Scratchpad, and even then I found it to be just a little bit fiddly. I'm not 100% sure that it's always applying everything across as I would like it. So I would always alter settings up here when I'm working in the Scratchpad, and always just flick your little mouse up here or your cursor up here to check what mode you're in before you start.